Hi, welcome to our business connection for the LA Latino Chamber. I'm Rick Rodriguez, former mayor of City of Downey and active board member for the LA Latino Chamber. I'd like to introduce a few people for this episode. Starting to my extreme left, Darrel Sauceda, our president, CEO, is that correct?
That's correct, chairman of the board.
Chairman of the board.
Yes.
And then to my close left here is Olivia Rios. Olivia gets all the things done around here for us. And last but not least, our guest of honor today, our Sheriff Robert Luna. So, Rob, welcome. Welcome to our show. Welcome to this episode. We have a number of things to talk to you about if you've got the time, and we'd love to hear your opinion on a few things.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes,
and
sir.
It's good to be surrounded by great people who make this area blossom.
Right on, right on. Darrel, you have a few things you want to start off with?
Sure. I'll start off first then. So, Sheriff, as a business owner and the chairman of the board of a very aggressive type of business owners, we've seen a huge reduction in overall theft and crime that has been a negative impact to a lot of our businesses, meaning that, a lot of our catalytic converters has been missing, and when you get into the truck, we start it up and there's no gas in there. That's just, we're notorious for this area for that. And I know that you've had a decrease of 12% compared to 2024. What are your plans now moving forward to see how we could keep on the same track of keeping us all safe?
Well, being a victim of a crime is no fun. And I'm going to talk about stats here in a second, but I also realize and absolutely respect that if you got your either business broken into, your car broken, your gas siphoned, it doesn't matter what the stats look like. So I need everyone to know that as the sheriff of Los Angeles County, I will make sure our deputies are responding, that they're investigating crime, no matter how small it may be. And then try to find resolution, because with the relationships that we've built, that includes with the district attorney's office and other partners, it is essential. And that's how we end up reducing crime. But Darrel touched on it. We've actually seen a 12% reduction in Part 1 crime, which is a combination of violent crime and property crime. That didn't happen by accident, because when I first became sheriff, when I walked into the department, I asked a simple question. What is our crime strategy? And I didn't really get the answers I wanted. So to cut to the chase, we put together a crime strategy with a crime strategy unit. And basically, for all your listeners, what that means is that, one, we're looking at data. It's data driven. Where is the crime happening? And then secondly, accountability. The captains in each geographical area need to know what's happening, and then they need to have a plan on how to address it. And then the third part, which is important to this organization, it's about collaboration and partnerships with community members, whether you live in a neighborhood or you own businesses. How are we working with you to make sure we're reducing crime? That formula, and I'm simplifying it, has helped us reduce crime every year that I've been sheriff. So I will continue to do that. There's a lot that goes into resources, and we could probably talk that through in another question. But just know that I am absolutely committed. It is my number one priority that we continue to reduce crime.
Well, I feel the difference. Yeah, because it was pretty rough a few years back. So thank you so much. I appreciate the tactics that you have in place, because it's just a much safer, and it feels good to be a business owner here now in LA County.
And by the way, I think I need to say this. For me, as your sheriff, it is critical that we understand as a department that if you don't thrive as a business owner, we don't thrive as a county. Yeah. So for example, right now when I'm fighting at a negotiating table to get my deputies raises, when we're talking about tax revenue, you need to be thriving. And we make that connection with our frontline employees that, hey, you need to get there quickly. You need to provide the best service you can so that all the businesses thrive, so that we all get ahead.
Right on.
Thank you.
Olivia, you have a question you'd like to throw out there?
Well, first of all, thank you for your service, and thank you for keeping this community safe. It really makes a difference. I live in another county, but when I come back to Los Angeles, I know that our sheriffs are behind us.
That's
so
good. So what do I need to do to talk you back and moving into LA County?
Purchase of homes. So making a difference in the community is great. With 88 cities in the county of Los Angeles, how do you embrace hope, strength, and the spirit of goodwill so that the cities embrace the good work that you're doing and that your department is doing throughout the year?
Great question. It starts off with caring about the job that you do. You started off by thanking me for my service. I'm a service-oriented person. That's what I believe in. I believe my job is to serve others, make our community safe, and you use the word hope. And that's what we're trying to do at all times. We want to make sure that whether you own a business or you have children who you want to be safe in the park, that we're giving you that hope and feeling of safety so you can get things done. But for me, since I've stepped into this role, I also believe as one of the top elected leaders in this county, it is my job to sell this area to everybody else. So sometimes you hear people being very negative, oh, crime's up, everyone's leaving. And I'm saying, wait a minute, time out. People pay thousands of dollars to come here on vacation. And we're blessed to live in this climate, in this area. So let's make it the best that we can. And when you use that approach with other folks, no matter what kind of, whether it's a business, government, community-based organizations, whatever it is, if you bring that kind of energy, that kind of positivity, and really that hope and faith that people are good and we can do this together, there's no stopping us. And that's the approach I take within the department and the communities that we're serving. So the 88 cities, I've taken a lot of pride in making sure that as the sheriff of LA County, that I'm taking a leadership role with other police departments. And just to let all of your listeners know, I've actually been endorsed by the LA County Police Chiefs Association. That is the 44 independent police chiefs in the county. And then the other departments, we serve as contract cities. So we have a very good foothold and a good grasp on leadership and what folks need in our communities.
You know, kind of leads into my question. Your leadership, obviously you came from a different department before you were with LA County Sheriffs. You were with the city of Long Beach for a long time. Long Beach is a great city, great department, big department. So you have that executive management decision-making authority and that knowledge, that background. So currently, like most law enforcement agencies, everybody's short-staffed. You know, I have a son that's LAPD. I've got another son who's an Army cop. We're very familiar with this story. So as LA County Sheriff's Department is kind of short-staffed itself, you know, what are your plans now to expedite the hiring process or the background process to get more deputies out in the field?
I talked about one of my priorities being crime reduction. A very close second is staffing. When I walked into the sheriff's department, I inherited a very large deficit of not only deputy sheriffs, but professional staff members. And I started to realize immediately that part of that deficit was created because my predecessor had a very poor relationship with the Board of Supervisors. So what I did is I started to go in a different direction, prioritizing our budget and really trying to mend a lot of fractured relationships. By doing that, I was able to get the board to approve hiring 8 to 10 classes per year. I also looked at the fact that almost every large agency in the United States is suffering from a recruitment deficit. People didn't want to be police officers, specifically after 2020. So instead of complaining about it, I went out and I found a marketing firm. And this marketing firm started to look at recruiting very differently for us. They started looking at algorithms. And as we've hired them and they're hitting their stride, our recruitment for new deputies has increased about 25%.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that's on the front end of it. So I've hired more deputies in the last 3 years than like my predecessor did the previous 3 or his last 3 years, which is a very good thing. But you can't talk about staffing without recruitment and the other side of this, and that's retention, retaining our valuable employees. So I'm attacking that from this angle. I'm working with our labor organizations, ALADS, POPA, to work on a increase for salary and benefits. And I'm telling everyone who will listen, our deputies need more money.
Yeah.
They need to be competitive with other folks. So that's at the negotiating table. I have a representative there, but I didn't stop there. Looking at the staffing shortages and then looking at the big events that we have coming down the path, I took what I basically is like an old retirement program, like a drop program.
Yeah.
And I looked at a program with my budget analyst that would be cost neutral to the County of Los Angeles, and I presented it. I'm very happy to say that we've gotten really far with that recommendation, and it looks like we're right around the corner from making a deal on it. And if I'm able to do that with the recruiting going up and the retention increasing because of these programs, we will have more deputies on the street, start closing those gaps as we already are closing them, but we'll get better. And then as we prepare for the World Cup this summer, we prepare for the 2027 Super Bowl, we prepare for the 2028 Olympics and Paralympics, we'll be in much better shape.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I mean about executive management experience, right? I mean, it's a business. Let's face it, you're an elected official, you're in law enforcement, but it's a business.
And if you don't mind, if I could spend just a couple of minutes, it's important for your listeners to know my background and history when it comes to law enforcement. I've spent a total of 40 years doing this job in law enforcement, very proud of what I've done. 16 of those were in diverse operational assignments, but 24 of those have been in executive management.
Yeah.
You mentioned it earlier. I was very proud to serve the city of Long Beach for 36 years. I was the chief of police there for 7. Ended up getting the key to the city before I left in Long Beach, which I'm very proud of. And then I was elected as the sheriff by a very wide margin last time. If you look at my background and you look at, because I'm running for reelection, of course, and you look at anybody compared to me, I'm the only one who's run or led 2 large departments.
Yeah.
And that's where you start seeing a lot of my accomplishments. So you got to look at people's resumes before you decide to vote for them. Who are they? What experience do they bring to the table? Because literally when I'm talking about safety and staffing, that experience really matters.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, it's no longer party politics anymore. It's about who gets the job done the best. Who can that person be to get the job done the best? And that's, Rob, that's why you're here. I mean, we have a lot of faith in you. Our chamber is very supportive of you. And Darrel, maybe I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, and actually that was going to lead into my next question about, how what was the plan, but I think you answered it pretty well. And now that we have FIFA coming, Super Bowl, and then LA 28 is also, in the horizons coming very quick, right? So what I'll do is I'll switch my question over. And my question now is, have you seen any reduction in the homeless population within LA County during your time at office? And are there any LASD programs to deal with the unhoused population?
Homelessness is one of the crises of our times. And it's a tough issue. You don't need to drive very far in the streets of Los Angeles, either the city or the county. So the first question you asked, has the homeless population actually decreased? And it has. The last numbers I saw, it decreased by 4%. 4% doesn't sound like a whopping amount, but it's a start, right? So that 4% decrease is important. As far as the LA County Sheriff's Department, for me, it's very critical that I remain a very good partner to my partners, whether they're government partners in the city of LA, the county of Los Angeles, and or community-based organizations, because the homeless challenge is so significantly, it's so tough to deal with. None of us can do this on our own. So we have our host teams, which is our homeless outreach services team for the Sheriff's Department. They are nationally recognized. They're co-responder teams. They work with community-based organizations. They also work with our mental evaluation teams, which are clinicians. So they're able to help and assist a lot. Now, what I've done, and sometimes it does raise eyebrows, is that over the last several years, looking at it from a policing perspective, which we're doing a pretty good job, always looking for better ways of doing things. But I also came out and I supported Proposition A and Measure A and Proposition 1. And the reason I did that is because I realize that my deputy sheriffs, when they respond to these calls dealing with homelessness, the majority of the calls they go on are dealing with mental health or addiction. And the options are very limited. There's not too many mental health beds or addiction beds. So supporting these two measures was very important because I wanted to give people options of what to, when you run across somebody, where do I take this person? It's not always jail. Jail may be a good option for accountability if you commit a crime, but what if you don't? Right. And then, and the reason I say I get the funny looks is because I think for all of us who pay a lot of taxes, like all of you do in business, you want to make sure that if we're giving money, that it's going to the right places and it's helping the right people. And that's why I think we had that 4% reduction, but we need to work a lot harder collectively to figure out better solutions. And then just, I'm going to throw this out really quick, is that as the sheriff of LA County, I've been advocating for, as they're talking about closing down Men's Central Jail, I've been advocating for what I call a correctional care center. This would really have wraparound services for folks that are mentally ill or addicted. And my belief is that we as a system, if we're able to do this, that I can decrease crime, because when people are with us, a social worker would identify their needs and figure out, okay, what do they need to make them better while they're with us? Do they need a job? Do they need an education? Do they need better mental health care? Better addiction services? Because if we don't do that and we're not doing it now, what happens? We end up being a pipeline to the homeless camps. We end up, people recommit crimes, and then that hurts all of us. Right. So I'm trying to look at it differently, and that's my vision for the changes.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob. I want to take a short break, and when we come back, we want to have Anna Sauceda come and join our conversation.
Welcome back. My name is Darrel Sauceda. I'd like to introduce Anna Sauceda, the chairwoman of the Corporate Advisory Board. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you, Darrel.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon to all. I think I want to just jump right into it. I got to hear the first segment, and I just really loved the intensity of the conversation because all of them are important issues. And what I want to allude to is the fact we have 56 days to make sure that our votes get in, to ensure that you not only continue to be the sheriff, but you don't have to go into the running in November. You've got lots of work to do, so let's get this done. He needs 50% of the votes. But in saying that, Sheriff, I want to make sure that you're able to address anything and everything that we might not know about you to ensure that the people that are not aware that there is even a election June 2nd, but more importantly, they don't know you and why it's so important for them to vote for you, to ensure that you can continue to address these issues and get the job done. I'm so excited to hear all this from you because I watch you from afar and I see the work that you're doing, and I'm so impressed for a couple of reasons. I've had brothers and I have nephews and I have a future grandson who is in the force, and I have seen a shift in the environment that you have created for their future and for them to just really grow upon the new environment you have created. So I want to thank you on that.
No, you're very welcome. And thank you for your service, because being the family member of somebody in law enforcement is not easy. If you think about this for a second, somebody goes off to work and you literally are praying for
Prayers
them.
up.
You saying, hey, I pray, dear God, that they come home safe. They're safe while they're at work. It's a tough job. I tell everybody that being in law enforcement is the toughest job in America. Sometimes, no matter what you do, it seems like you're wrong. So if for all the listeners out there, please support law enforcement. When you see them, say hello, pat them on the back, say thank you. It is a tough job, and their family members as well.
Absolutely. The day my brother actually got graduated and went into the sheriff's department, my mother's Bible opened and stayed open every day because you're absolutely right. You know, we are so proud, and yet we know that we're in this together. And so you definitely need our support, first of all, with prayers, and second of all, just to really encourage and know how important the job is that you're doing day in and day out. This world is forever changing. And again, I love that you're at the helm and recognizing all that needs to happen within this department.
Oh, thank you very much. And then just, there were a couple of questions I think you threw out there, and I'd like to kind of go in sequence and try and answer the majority of those. So yeah, the election is June 2nd. And I don't know if there's ever been as an important time to make sure we vote. I think we have found out through whether it's national politics, state politics, regional politics, your opinion really matters.
Yes.
And everyone likes to complain, so you got to take the time and don't just go vote. Pay attention to who you're voting for. That is so critical. And then just for the listeners, I've talked a little bit about who I am, and I'm going to start like this, and that will encompass other things, is why should you vote for Robert Luna? Number one, and more importantly, is I don't know if you'll find anybody who cares about their job or the people they serve as much as I do. I retired. I could have stayed retired. I chose not to. I love this profession. I love the community I serve. I am a man of faith. I'm not afraid to talk about my faith, and part of that faith is to serve others. And foundation-wise, that's really where it starts. And to think for a second that I am the sheriff of Los Angeles County, and I've been in this position for 3 years, you got to pinch me, because I'm so humbled and honored to say that this is the position I have. To come to work and be able to make a difference every day in the way I do. And I believe with what we do, what I'm doing every day, we do save lives. Yeah. We're making a difference in people's lives. And then it's not lost on me that every time I get up in front of a television set or I'm doing something like this, I don't forget where I came from. I don't forget about my journey. And my journey into law enforcement was not easy. I had parents who weren't treated well by law enforcement. I was the oldest of 3 kids. I was born in the unincorporated area of East Los Angeles. My father was born in Sinaloa, Mexico. My mother was born in Modesto, California, but only because her family was part of the Bracero program, and they were farmers, laborers. And so obviously my mom and dad met in East Los Angeles. I'm the oldest of 3 kids. I didn't learn English until I went to grade school. But back, and I think I'm older than all of you sitting around the table.
I don't know about that.
I don't think so.
I'll argue with all of you. But for
Nicely
me,
said, thank you.
when I went to grade school and I didn't know English, man, it didn't go good for me. I got bullied, kids chasing me around because I couldn't speak English. And my mom would say, hey, don't forget your Spanish. And I was like, heck no, I'm going to forget my Spanish because I don't want to get beat up at school. But you grow up in that environment, and in East LA, I got to be honest with you, when we played cops and robbers, nobody wanted to be the cops. Yeah. I was the only one. Everybody wanted to be the robber. No one liked the police. So that motivated me to get into law enforcement and take this journey. So now when I reflect back on it, I feel so blessed that I'm doing this job, but I could be an example to so many people. Mm-hmm. People say, hey, if you want to make a difference, you get in there and you start making that difference. And that's what I've done. I do it now. So when I'm doing interviews, whether they're in English or in Spanish, people are looking at me. You know what the most awesome feeling is? When I walk into a restaurant or I go to a dinner and all the waiters that are serving food, they all want to grab me and take me to the back and take pictures with me. They saw me on an interview on Spanish TV. Man, you talk about pride.
Yep.
Wow.
That fills your heart because they're proud of me.
Yeah.
And we should be proud of each other that way.
That's right.
But getting back to the work portion of this, when I arrived at the Sheriff's Department, there was so much work to do. And so one of the first things I had to do was start building trust. I had to start building trust with the community, with the media, with my employees, and with elected officials and other law enforcement folks, because there were a lot of fractured relationships. Little by little, I started building those relationships, and relationships matter. All of you in business know this. You do not succeed in business if you cannot get along with people, if you cannot find common ground. And that's what I started to do. That's where I talked about earlier, increasing and our resources, our equipment, better technology, because this is how we better serve our community. So when I talk to you all about my accomplishments, I talked about reducing crime. I've also reduced the use of force at the same time. I've reduced deputy-involved shootings by 42% from 25 to this year. One of the reasons I did that, I don't know if you probably don't know this, but this week I'm actually getting an award from Axon, but I'm sending somebody else in my place, and they're giving me their first ever award because I've used their Taser 10s as part of our strategy to reduce deputy-involved shootings. Every time we reduce a shooting, that's one less person who gets hurt. Yeah. That's one less person from an employee wellness perspective that has to deal with that kind of situation. So that's just one example of many. So when I talk about those reductions, those are important. At the same time, because we've had so many problems in our custody facilities, when I got there, I was threatened by federal DOJ that they were going to take us back to court and list me as you're in contempt of court because you're not going along with all your court agreements. We sat down and said, how do we turn this? How do we turn this ship? And I hired a lady by the name of Eileen Decker, who is my director of the Office of Constitutional Policing. And her job was to eradicate the deputy gang issue that I walked into, was to get us into compliance. And I got to tell you, 3 years later, our compliance is going through the roof. We are closer than ever of getting rid of one of our court order settlement agreements. And I inherited 4 of them. I'm sorry, actually, I inherited 5 of them. And so there's a lot of work there being done. Modernizing the department. Again, that relationship with the board matters. 40 years and the sheriff's department couldn't achieve getting a computer-aided dispatch system, which is our 911 system and the way we dispatch units. It cost millions of dollars, but because of that relationship, I got it approved. And by this summer, we're going to have our first computer-aided dispatch system new in 40 years. Wow. So there's just example after examples of achievements that are made when you have somebody that has the combination of experience that we talked about earlier, that executive experience, being there. And then honestly, it's emotional intelligence, just listening and caring about people and finding compromise so you can achieve the things that you need to achieve from a budget perspective. So that's all important as we move forward. Yeah.
And budget's important, though. I mean, I myself used to review and audit LA County budget, being the chairman of the board of workforce development, and overseeing a lot of the departments. And I used to see tens of millions of dollars of lawsuits that were happy for assessors for us. And you know, as a taxpayer of LA County, I would like to see that money better spent than spent on lawsuits. Getting a new 911, that's you get to the ridiculous, like I think, right? And it makes sense, dollars and cents. And now we're going to be state of the art, and I respect what you're doing, and meeting you before you became sheriff, right? You're just one of us, and your heart's in the right place. It's your who you are is the reason why you're my sheriff, and you got my vote. But I'm just so proud to be in your camp. And Rick, do you have another question?
I do, and kind of leads to this question is that you talk about the restaurant, right? I mean, I think all of us could share that same experience, and we have that responsibility. I mean, we all came from a very similar background where our parents or grandparents crossed the border and worked in picking strawberries or working in the restaurant, but they did so much sacrifice for us so we could live the life we live. And so now currently our world now, here in this part of the world, we deal with a situation with our federal agents, our ICE agents. And I'm sure this is a very uncomfortable conversation to have, but I don't think a lot of our listeners really truly understand what can be done and what can't be done. But, can you explain the policies and procedures in regards to our deputies when they get involved in the presence of ICE, what they can do, what they can't do?
Yeah, it's a very critical question at this time because of the issues that we're seeing and dealing with on a daily basis. So just to remind your listeners, I spoke about my personal background.
Yeah.
So when we talk about this issue of ICE and immigration, it's very personal to
Absolutely.
me because of where my parents came from and how hard they worked. So now as the sheriff of Los Angeles County, largest sheriff's department in the country, when this last summer, when ICE and Border Patrol and all these federal agencies were hitting parts of Los Angeles pretty hard, it was interesting because our deputy sheriffs got caught in the middle.
Yeah.
On one side, the community was very angry with us because there were times where the federal agents, and honestly, my wife worked for the FBI for years. I have a lot of friends that are federal agents, but some of the behavior I saw, in my opinion, was well below what I'm used to from a training perspective, which caused a lot of problems with the community. So a lot of times these federal agents would go into neighborhoods really just disrespecting folks. And they thought because they had rifles and a lot of them, the community just turned on them. And before you knew it, they were yelling for help. Who do they call for help?
Sure.
Our deputy sheriffs, police officers, the LAPD. We'd get there and we'd find ourselves in the middle. And honestly, when we got there, a lot of the federal agents were just using us to get out of there, just for their own safety. And then we'd get left with the angry community. Why are you helping them? It's like, we're not helping them. They called us for help.
Right.
And what people have got to realize is if somebody calls us for help, we don't get to pick and choose who
Right.
we help.
That's right.
That's on one side of it. But there were times where on the federal side, they felt we weren't helping them. And we've gotten threats from the U.S. Attorney's Office saying, hey, if you don't help us or if you intervene in any way, your deputies could be brought up on charges. So you see the quandary that we're in the middle. But to me, the way I approach it, and this is now the policy of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, is per state policy and county policy, which is more strict, we do not get involved in civil immigration enforcement. We do not. We haven't for years. So our community needs to know that. But we do respond when people are asking for help. And by the way, we've gotten calls from community members who say, oh my God, somebody's being kidnapped by somebody who is got a mask on and no identification. We now have a policy in place where we direct our deputies to go out there, get it on their body-worn camera, and then identify the people who are involved. And we will retain that documentation. We're also putting out information to our community members that if they feel that they have been violated in any way, that there are emails and numbers that either Homeland Security or ICE puts out for the federal agency to assist. But I want to take that a step further because that's on the street when we respond to patrol instances. I also run the largest county jail system in the world. And we get what they call civil detainers, immigration civil detainers. Because of state law, because of county policy, for the last several years, we haven't released anybody to the federal government when they ask for an ICE detainer. We were being heavily criticized, saying things like, well, you're holding on to people who are very violent offenders and serious offenders. And my response was, if that's true, why don't you issue a federal judicial warrant signed by a federal judge, and then we can turn them over to you. But if they fit that certain criteria and they get double checked, well, we have been turning people over if a judge signs one of those federal judicial warrants. But it's tricky.
Yeah.
So we are trying to find the best balance we can. It's a very tough situation. For me, it's been very difficult. And I look around this table, especially for the men, and I'm thinking, if you go to a Home Depot on a weekend, you probably have the same feeling I do. Yeah. You're going, man, am I going to get snatched up? Yeah. People say, oh, no, you're the sheriff. Oh, no, I look just like you. Yeah. Those are concerns, legitimate fears, because for a while there, if you look at the stats, from the stats I've seen, and nobody can prove me wrong yet, I'm looking forward to it, 70% of the people who were being taken away were not violent offenders, were not serious criminals. They were, laborers at Home Depots, people washing cars. I've seen taco makers get tackled. That's sad.
Yeah.
That is very sad.
You're absolutely correct. It's a very difficult conversation to have. I can remember back in the old days when I first came back from overseas, coming home with my dad, and I got pulled over making a left turn illegally over on Laura Azusa at a Temple City station. And my dad says, "Stop, just stop and don't say anything. You don't get in trouble." He was so afraid. My father, he could speak broken English. He was so afraid of being stopped. And the police contact shouldn't have been fear. I broke the law. I really did make an illegal left turn. And when I talked to the deputy, I said, "Listen, I'm sorry. There was never a light there before." He goes, "Oh, yeah, it's new. It's only been there about a year." And we had a conversation, and he let me go, with a warning,
And then you also think about it from a business angle. How many of our businesses employ folks? One of my favorite taco places in Long Beach, the owner's always like, "Hey, what do I do if ICE comes to the door?" Because the majority of the people who work in her kitchen aren't documented. But that's about every kitchen in Southern California. So we need immigration reform.
Absolutely.
We really need immigration reform. And that's where I go back to that, man, when you vote, pay attention to who you're voting for.
And see, that's the uncomfortable piece of this is that your position you're running for is Los Angeles County Sheriff, the highest ranking law enforcement officer in the county. You're not running for mayor or Congress or senator. You're running for that position for law enforcement authority. And sometimes people get hung up on not knowing what to vote for. And that's why, to your point, that's why it's so important that you look at the facts.
And I also want to put this out, talking about voting, because people ask me this question all the time, and it's a good question. If I live in the city of Los Angeles, can I vote for the sheriff of LA County? And the answer to that is yes. If you reside in any city in Los Angeles County, you can vote for the sheriff of LA County. Why? Because we touch every part of this county, whether it's through the county jail system, the county court system. We are the ones who serve evictions and court orders throughout the entire county. So any city that has their own police department, Long Beach, where I came from, Pasadena, you can vote for the sheriff of Los Angeles County. Yeah. That's why I'm here. Vote for me, please.
Nice.
But do your research first.
That brings me to one of my questions, my last question. There's many candidates running for this office. And a lot of them are active or retired LASD employees. And so one of the things I really want our listeners to hear, what sets you apart? What sets you apart from all the other candidates? What sets Rob Luna apart from everybody else?
I go back to my number one answer is I care.
Yeah.
You will not find anybody who has devoted as much effort and time into doing this job. I lay it all in the field. Some people talk about working 40 hours a week. I don't know if I've ever seen 40 hours a week. That is number one. Number two is the experience. Yeah. No one who's running against me has run two large police agencies, and I say successfully, and been as effective as I am in the accomplishments I've had. And a lot of that is because I already have had relationships. And there's another aspect to that. I'm not only known in Los Angeles County, I am recognized and considered one of the top law enforcement executives in the country because the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has so much influence. And I have used that influence in a positive manner where I've developed even better relationships. And so whether I'm talking about at the state legislature or even in D.C., people pay attention to you when you're the sheriff of Los Angeles County. And then one of the other aspects, and there's two parts to this, is that one, that consistency. I don't know if anybody knows this, but there have been 5 sheriffs in 13 years.
Wow.
And that's 4-year terms. And for a variety of reasons, that's inconsistent leadership. And what we need as we move forward, not only for everyday safety, but all the events coming up, which we're already in committees and talking to multiple law enforcement partners and people from LA 28, you can't have somebody who's looking for the restroom or doesn't have the experience. And more important, it's the relationships that are already have been established.
Crucial. Yeah.
And when I tell you to look at the resume, I'll leave you with this thought. If you were to look at everyone who's running for sheriff and you were to say, the Los Angeles Police Department has an opening for chief, or the Long Beach Police Department has an opening for chief, and you look at the prerequisites for those two positions, nobody who's running against me can even fit those prerequisites, but yet they want to run the largest sheriff's department in the county. I'm sorry, in the country. You can't do that.
Right.
Let's not make the same mistakes we've made in the past, taking somebody from the lieutenant's rank, jumping up 5, 6, 7 ranks. Just not good for us. And we just need to continue the path that we're on.
Yeah. There's no doubt we're on the world stage coming up. All these events coming to Long Beach, to Los Angeles, downtown, all throughout the areas of our county. We're on the world stage.
Yeah.
We can't be embarrassed. We can't be embarrassed to all this stuff. We have to show solidarity with our public safety. You travel all through Europe where they've had the Olympics many times, and you see what it looks like. But to your point, continuity's there. They've had the same amount of training, the same amount of leadership for so many years. So that's a very good point. Anna, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yes, I just wanted to say to you, Sheriff, what a privilege to sit here and have this conversation with you. But more importantly, I remember when you began this new adventure as our sheriff, you were thrown into such just tumultuous events, whether it was the huge fires, and most importantly, because the huge fires. And I do know this, that because you showed up and you gave true leadership, your men showed up, and they gave true leadership. Many of them you don't know that we saw a lot of the fire departments there, but the sheriffs were also there too.
Yeah.
The deputies pulling these families out, not being really even equipped properly, but because of your leadership and your commitment, it transcends to your department. And I have to commend you on that because it begins and it ends with you. And so that's why we need to vote Sheriff Robert Luna on June 2nd. And I learned something today because I realized that some of my family thought, well, where do I vote for him? They didn't know that they lived in the city of LA. They couldn't vote for you. So we've got to get that message out for sure, loud and clear.
Thank you. Thank you for that recognition, and hail to our deputies who risked their lives during those fires in both the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire. Wish we could have saved everybody. It was the worst disaster in LA County history, ×2, because we had them going at but our deputies never hesitated. And everybody was evacuating. They were going up the hill to try and rescue more people.
And again, because that was there. They saw you at the bottom of the hill or up on the hill with them. Anytime we turned on the news, you were always there showing up, giving your support, and not even maybe even knowing what you needed to do, but you needed to know that it began with you showing up.
Well, thank you.
giving direction.
And crisis management is a very important aspect of my job. When bad things happen, you need to come out in front of cameras or in front of people and give them confidence and hope that things are going to get better. You don't get up there and scare people, but that partnership with everybody else, and you embrace that. And we got a lot of accolades for the way we handled that. So thank you.
Yes, you should.
Darrell, you have something else you want to?
Well, I have to agree, though. We touched on compromise, and I know our previous sheriff. We always read in the news that he couldn't get along with supervisors, and I don't know how you can't get along with your bosses. You're not one-man army or one-man sheriff department. So I recognize that and noticed that as well. But more than that, I just believe you're my sheriff with a purpose, and your purpose is for the well-being of LA County, and I'm humbled to be here with you as well, and being represented by one of the largest chambers in the country, as we've been recognized for. And I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you,
I
Darrell.
really appreciate you
Thank you, Darrell.
tremendously.
Thank you.
You're going to do another term.
So, Rob, can I get the key back from Long Beach? I live in Long Beach now. Can I have the key back? So that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show, and look forward to the next episode.
My name is Robert Luna, and I am the Sheriff of Los Angeles County, and I am running for re-election to be your sheriff again. And I want you to know that if you live in any corner of Los Angeles County, all 88 cities, even if you have your own police department, you vote for the Sheriff of Los Angeles County. And I've made such a big difference, so please, I would love to have your support.